This is Dave, and I'm here with Ethan, and together we are Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, episode 172-inch.
On this episode, we dig deep into my radio show archives and share part 2 of my interview with Dr. Demento, back from 2015.
It's Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
It's a podcast about Weird Al.
It's Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
Seriously, the whole podcast is about Weird Al.
Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
You don't have to listen, but we're glad you are.
Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
Wow, it sure has been a crazy few weeks, hasn't it?
Oh, I'll say.
First of all, the world premiere of Weird the Al Yankovic Story happened on September 8th at the Toronto International Film Festival, and Ethan, you and I were both there.
Yes, Dave, both you and I were fortunate enough to secure tickets to the midnight premiere, and we got to finally see the film we've been anxiously awaiting since we first learned about it oh so many months ago.
Now, tickets to this premiere were really tough to get, so we are so glad that we were both able to make that happen. And then, as this wonderful treat, as if this film was not enough, we also attended the matinee screening the following day.
It was an insane, crazy, super Canadian couple of days. And besides seeing Weird the Al Yankovic Story twice in like less than 12 hours, immediately after the premiere, we're also treated to a Q&A with the director Eric Appel, Evan Rachel Wood, who plays Madonna, Daniel Radcliffe, who plays Weird Al, and Weird Al himself.
It was so awesome. And then the next day, right after the matinee, we were treated to yet another Q&A with Eric. And Ethan, you actually got to ask him a question.
Yes, I certainly did. But my question was a little spoilery, so we're not going to talk about that now. But we plan to talk all about our spoiler-free adventures in Canada and the events leading up to, during, and following the world premiere of Weird the Al Yankovic Story in a future episode, so stay tuned.
And until the film is officially released on Roku, you can count on Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast to remain spoiler-free. But let me tell you, once that film is officially released, we have some really, really fun stuff planned, so you want to stay tuned for that as well.
And now that we've seen the film, we have some words of advice. We recommend not seeking out and reading every review and article and teaser that comes out about the film.
Yeah, stop watching that amazing and incredible trailer 27 times per day, and do not seek out any bootlegs or spoilers.
We just recommend going into the film knowing as little as possible for the fullest enjoyment.
And trust us, it will really pay off when you finally do get to see that film. All right, Ethan, do you think you can sum up the film for everyone in 3 spoiler-free words or less?
Yes! It was pretty stinking majestic.
Oh, I totally agree, but that is technically 6 words.
Oh, you're right. So no, I can't.
Stay tuned for more about our trip to Canada to see the world premiere of Weird the Al Yankovic Story on a future episode, and expect more from us about Weird the Al Yankovic Story when it's appropriate. But Ethan, that's not the end of your Weird Al ventures, is it?
No, it wasn't. As soon as we got back from Canada, I pretty much had to turn right around and head out to California to catch 5 more shows from Weird Al's The Unfortunate Return of the Ridiculously Self-Indulgent, Ill-Advised Vanity Tour. I went to Riverside, Paso Robles, Temecula, Santa Clarita, Thousand Oaks. Oh, I'm exhausted, Dave.
Oh, it sounds like a wonderful trip. Oh, I hope you had fun without me.
I'm really sorry to say, Dave, but I had a ton of fun, but without you. I wish you were there, but it was pretty stinking majestic. All the shows were incredible. I will say one thing, since I was there to observe it. All but one of the shows I saw featured Steve J's son, Miles J, playing the bass.
Wow, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, Steve has some medical issues going on with his hand, and his doctor recommended he let it rest up for a few days. So Miles stepped in for him, and the 4 shows I saw, he was incredible. He did a great job. It was really spectacular seeing him up on stage. And there were certain songs where I was really wondering if he could pull it off. And I'll tell you, Dave, he certainly did.
Wow, that's so great to hear. What an amazing experience. And how great must it be for Miles to be up there on stage playing with an incredible band that his father has been with for nearly 40 years.
Yes, Al mentioned that Miles told him it was like performing with all of his uncles up on stage. Because they knew him since he was a baby.
Sure.
So I'll have a lot more about that when you hear the bonus episodes from those concerts. But Dave, I wanted to tell you about something else. I went to Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo.
Yeah, I saw your live Instagram about it. That must have been really cool. Tell us a little bit about that.
I was so thrilled that I got to go up to Paso Robles, which was only about 30 minutes outside of San Luis Obispo. So I knew if I was passing through, I had to stop in and try to visit the bathroom and do everything I could. So yeah, I had the idea to do the Instagram Live and do a little tour, and tried to connect you on so you could be on video and ask questions and almost get arrested like I did again. But I think it was like 18 minutes of me showing off the bathroom and walking around the halls, and I go to the new radio station, and there's a lot of fun stuff that happens there.
Yeah, for sure. It's up on our Instagram page at 2000 Inch if you want to check that out. Definitely cool. And Ethan, I'm so glad that you actually went into the building legally this time, so they did not have to call the campus police on you.
Yes, the door was open this time, but like I mentioned in that little teaser, there may have been a little bit of a run-in, so be sure to check that out if you want to see the full adventure.
Wow, Ethan, all that sounds absolutely amazing. I am extremely jealous that you got to go to California and have all that fun without me, and I'm really excited to hear all about your adventures on our upcoming Ridiculously Self-Indulgent bonus episodes.
Yes, our intern Frank will get those episodes up first for our Patreon supporters over at patreon.com/2000inch as soon as possible, and I'm sure he'll then eventually upload them for everyone else.
Ooh, I cannot wait. Well, I'm glad you had fun, but there's been a lot of Weird Al news that's been going on recently, so let's see what's happening now and what's happening in Weird Al related news. What's happening in Weird Al related news is brought to you in part by Well, and the true legends of the once great forum, Wowway, in accordance with support for the rights of gays and LGBTQ+, and people who wash their hands regularly. Thanks, Mark Heidenreich, for this sponsorship.
The U.S. premiere of Weird the Al Yankovic Story has been announced, and it will take place on October 6th in Santa Monica, California, as part of Beyond Fest.
The premiere will be followed by a screening of Weird Al's first feature-length movie, UHF, on film, which according to Weird Al is the only surviving 35mm print in existence.
If that's not exciting enough, there will also be a Q&A with past guest and friend of the podcast Eric Appel, moderated by past guest and friend of the podcast Jonah Ray.
Wait, Jonah Ray at a UHF screening? Where have we seen that before?
Now, I'm not completely sure, Dave, but I just have a sudden urge to listen to episode 39-inch and episode 40-inch of Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
Well, the U.S. premiere of Weird the Al Yankovic Story sure is a hot ticket because tickets sold out in less than 1 minute.
It was incredible. Hopefully someone at the Roku channel is taking notice and we'll get some sort of theatrical release of the film. Now, as some of the very few who have actually seen this film in a theater, both Dave and I agree that as many people as possible deserve to see it in theaters.
Now, sadly, I will personally not be able to attend the U.S. premiere of Weird the Al Yankovic Story, but I have a really good reason. I'll be seeing Weird Al perform at the Graceland Soundstage in Memphis, Tennessee that very same day.
Oh no, Dave. So instead of watching the film for a third time, you'll have to watch Weird Al perform live and in person at the home of your Nick namesake and one of your musical heroes, Elvis Presley? I'm so sorry to hear that, Dave. If I end up going, I'll definitely pour out a blueberry daiquiri in your honor.
Thank you, Ethan. That means a lot. Well, as long as we're on the subject of Weird the Al Yankovic Story, the movie now has its very own Twitter account, so be sure to follow @BeWeird for the latest updates on the movie.
And that's not all the news about Weird the Al Yankovic Story, because the film won its first major award last Sunday, September 18th.
Weird the Al Yankovic Story beat out 9 other films to take home the People's Choice Midnight Madness Award at the 2022 Toronto International Film Festival, aka TIFF.
Here's what director Eric Appel, who was not able to be there in person to accept the award, emailed the Toronto International Film Festival for his acceptance speech.
Eric's statement reads, "Wow, I never in a million years thought that our satire of traditional awards films would actually win an award itself. It really is true what they say. There's no better audience than Midnight Madness at TIFF. Our film is a lean into your own weirdness and being a vehicle for finding your own happiness, and I am beyond thrilled that everyone had as fun watching it that we had making it. I am incredibly grateful for our partners at Roku, Funny or Die, Tango, Daniel, Evan, our amazing and hardworking cast and crew, and last but not least, the weird one himself, Al Yankovic, for allowing us to tell his real, accurate, and 100% true story of his life."
If you wish to check out the award ceremony for yourself, you can do so over on the TIFF YouTube page. Fast forward to about 46 minutes in for the good part.
From all of us here at Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, congratulations to everyone involved with Weird the Al Yankovic story, especially those incredibly hardworking and good-looking background actors, on the first of what we know will be many awards to come.
In other news, there's been an update to the unfortunate return of the ridiculously self-indulgent, ill-advised Vanity Tour. The 4 tour dates in May that were postponed due to Weird Al testing positive for COVID-19 have finally been rescheduled.
Those rescheduled shows take place in Nashville, Indiana, Springfield, Illinois, Saginaw, Michigan, and Detroit, Michigan, and have been rescheduled for February 3rd through February 7th, 2023.
If you already had purchased tickets for these original shows, your tickets will be good for the makeup shows. However, if you can no longer attend, please contact the venue's box office ASAP for your options.
As of this recording, limited tickets are still available to these rescheduled shows, so please check WeirdAl.com for additional information.
As far as we know, these are the only 4 U.S. tour dates scheduled for next year.
Recently, the New York Times released a full-length article about Weird the Al Yankovic story featuring Daniel Radcliffe and Weird Al Yankovic.
The article is written by Dave Itzkoff and includes an interview with Daniel and Al, as well as quotes from director Eric Appel, plus some really fun new pictures of Daniel and Al together as photographed by Sina Nasseri.
The article is available online on the nytimes.com website, as well as in the print edition of the Sunday, September 11th paper.
In other news related to the dying industry of print media, the September 19th issue of In Touch features a picture montage that has a picture of Daniel Radcliffe dressed as Weird Al and asks the question, do they look like the person they are playing?
Included along with the picture of Daniel is an old school picture of classic Weird Al, in case you forgot what he looks like.
Well, if you were to ask us how we feel about Daniel playing and looking like Al, we think he did a pretty stinking majestic job.
And In Touch is not the only magazine to include a picture of Weird Al and Daniel. The September 26th issue of People has a picture of Daniel and Al on the striped carpet at the world premiere of Weird the Al Yankovic story from the Toronto International Film Festival.
In the caption for the picture, Daniel talks about working with Al and says, "It was very intimidating in a way to be on set with him. He was very patient with me."
Well, being that the film Weird the Al Yankovic story got a lot of buzz at the Toronto International Film Festival and continues to get buzz everywhere, be on the lookout for Daniel and Al's name and image to appear elsewhere over the next couple weeks and months.
If you happen to catch any pictures of Weird Al or mentions of him or the film out in the wild, please share it with us and let us know.
Our good friends Blair Freeman, Joe Jaffa, and William King have already found Weird Al mentions out in the wild and grabbed them for our collections. You guys rock. Thank you.
Now, we heard some rumors that there will be an exclusive Mark Fredrickson cover for the upcoming The Illustrated Al, The Songs of Weird Al Yankovic, so keep your eyes peeled for that.
For those wondering where they've seen Mark's artwork before, he illustrated the cover of the June 2015 issue of Mad Magazine, which is the one where Weird Al is the special guest editor. And he also drew the artwork that is used on the VIP poster for the unfortunate return of the ridiculously self-indulgent, ill-advised Vanity Tour.
The Jackson Park Espresso Medium Roast Coffee that was previously only available on tour is now being offered through the merchandise shop at WeirdAl.com.
The 12-ounce bag is available in both whole bean and ground and costs $15, which is the same selection and price as on tour. However, shipping costs do apply when ordering online.
Now, Dave and I are not coffee drinkers, though we did try it on a secret episode for our Patreon supporters, but our friends who are coffee drinkers do seem to like it quite a bit. So if you want to try it and can't make it out to a concert, or you just need your coffee fix, head on over to WeirdAl.com and pick up a bag, or 27.
And finally, we have some sad news to report. Queen Elizabeth II, Queen of the United Kingdom and other Commonwealth realms, passed away on September 8th at the age of 96.
Though Her Majesty the Queen was not directly referenced in the Weird Al song Buckingham Blues, the song does satirize the lifestyle of her eldest son, the then Prince of Wales and now King Charles III, as well as his then wife, the Princess of Wales Diana.
Weird Al has also been known to perform a live cover version of the Sex Pistols song God Save the Queen, which critiques Queen Elizabeth II.
Weird Al also shares the screen with Her Majesty the Queen on at least one occasion, including a fictional character of her in the 1989 comedy The Naked Gun from the Files of Police Squad.
Ethan and myself are deeply saddened by this loss, as Queen Elizabeth II held a special, important role behind the scenes at Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
From all of us here at Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, we extend our condolences to the entire royal family and the millions she has touched, and would like to sincerely thank Her Majesty the Queen for all that she has contributed to Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast over the years.
This episode is brought to you in part by vegan burrito restaurant Burrito Burrito in Troy, New York, home of the 2-pound double wrapped in a quesadilla Burrito Burrito and Wizard Burger in Albany, New York. Come on down to Burrito Burrito and Burrito Burrito your Burrito Burrito, or hop on over to Wizard Burger for mouth-watering, loaded, dare I say beefy, vegan burgers. From Troy to Albany to Uranus, Burrito Burrito and Wizard Burger feed the hungry with out-of-this-world, plant-based, real food, always vegan style. Visit burritosquared.com and wizardburger.com to order ahead.
And now it's time for what's happening in Grammy Award-winning Jim Kimo West-related news!
For the past few episodes, we have been reporting that the Grammy Award-winning Jim Kimo West had some big news to share, and it finally dropped in the form of an exclusive online club called Kimo's Corner.
A brand new feature on his website, JimKimoWest.com, Kimo's Corner has tons of awesome benefits, including previously unavailable music, including rarities and soundtracks,
videos of live performances and behind the scenes on tour, both solo and with Weird Al.
Plus there's merchandise discounts, private monthly live events, and much, much more.
Kimo offers 2 subscription options, a monthly subscription of $9.99 per month, or a yearly subscription for $69.99.
But if you join before Friday, September 23rd, 2022, you'll save $20 off the annual Kimo's Corner rate and pay only $49.99 for the whole year. So sign up now before the price increases.
Membership also includes a free ticket to Kimo's annual virtual holiday show.
Plus, you get a coupon code that you can use right now for 50% off any music or merchandise from his online store.
It is a great deal, and Ethan and myself have both joined already. For more details and to sign up, check out JimKimoWest.com.
This is a special hamster alert to the Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast broadcast alert system, sponsored by Jack Bateman. Let me tell you this. Did you know there's a new show on Disney and Disney Plus called Hamster and Gretel?
No, I had no idea.
Well, let me tell you this. I think you will find certain elements quite suspicious.
Suspicious, you say? Okay, go on.
So it's a cartoon about a little girl and her hamster, and they have superpowers.
Well, I'm sure that's just a coincidence. I'm sure the hamster does not wear a cape and fly around.
Well, let me tell you this. The hamster wears a cape and flies around.
Blasphemy! They're copying off Harvey the Wonder Hamster. Unless the show creator has no idea who Weird Al is, and that's just a coincidence.
Well, let me tell you this. The show is by Dan Povenmire, the guy behind Milo Murphy's Law, the cartoon that Weird Al stars in.
Well, that does it. Wow, I cannot believe it. I'm sure you're not going to now tell me something about the show that sounds suspiciously like it was lifted from our podcast.
Well, let me tell you this. There's a character voiced by Matt Jones, a.k.a. Badger from Breaking Bad.
We just talked about him with Erica Powell.
Well, let me tell you this. Matt Jones's character is named Dave.
That does it. I'm taking this Disney to court.
That is all for this episode's very important special hamster alert via the Dave and Ethan's 2,000-inch Weird Al podcast broadcast alert system.
All right, now let's check out what's happening in John Bermuda Schwartz related news.
Last week, John Bermuda Schwartz dropped a fun infomercial for his upcoming book, Lights, Camera, Accordion, Eye-Popping Photographs of Weird Al Yankovic, 1981 through 2006.
The video clip is chock full of fun Easter eggs and features a rare, whimsical, instrumental version of Weird Al's Since You've Been Gone, previously unseen images from the book, and is narrated by Bermuda himself.
And that's not all. The phone number used at the bottom of the infomercial is a call-in number for Call & Oates, an emergency helpline to get your Hall & Oates fix.
Oh, that wacky Bermuda.
If you haven't seen it yet, we encourage you to watch it. But in the meantime, since we are an audio podcast, let's take a listen right now.
Hi, John Bermuda Schwartz here. Welcome to my second book, Lights, Camera, Accordion. It's a 256-page collection of my color film photos of Weird Al and the band spanning 25 years. I almost always had a camera with me in the studio, on video sets, on tour, and I captured a lot of behind-the-scenes images. Most of them turned out pretty good. In this book, you'll see video shots, studio shots, live shots, close personal friends, private getaways, Al does the robot, tour bus antics, shirtless Al, hairless Al sleeping uncomfortably, Weird Al, phone home, hot tubs, that time we opened for the Monkees, Al's morning kids show, selfies, 1 degree of Kevin Bacon, Al loves the twine ball, ice cream eating contests, banana eating contests, pizza, Al sharing bills with flea markets, word crimes on Amish Paradise, and Drew Carey. Thanks for checking out my new book, and thank you for your never-ending support for Al and the band for more than 4 decades.
Ooh, I love that rare audio. Hold on, Dave. I'm going to go to 1984publishing.com and order a book right now.
And speaking of Bermuda's photographs, one of these famed photos appears in the brand new book by Vincent Patterson called Icons and Instincts, Choreographing and Directing Entertainment's Biggest Stars.
If Vincent's name sounds familiar, we talk a lot about Vincent in our Black and White and Weird All Over bonus episode series, where we go picture by picture with John Bermuda Schwartz through his first book, Black and White and Weird All Over.
Now, Vincent is a world-renowned director and choreographer and has worked with the likes of Michael Jackson, Madonna, and Weird Al, among others.
In fact, Vincent was the choreographer for Weird Al's Eat It video, and he plays one of the gang leaders in the video itself.
We're definitely looking forward to checking out Vincent's brand new book.
But most of all, we're looking forward to checking out Bermuda's picture. Of course, get the book wherever books are sold. Or Amazon, probably.
Ethan, back on episode 171-inch of Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, we dug deep into your archives to air part 1 of your interview with the legendary Dr. Demento that you recorded with him way back in August 2015. It was so awesome to hear all about how he came up with his name, meeting a young Weird Al Yankovic, and the definitive origin of his iconic top hat. I know our listeners would love to hear the rest of the interview. What do you say?
I say let's listen to it. I'm so excited for everyone to hear this interview that I recorded, 7 years ago? I don't know how to do math. With the great Dr. Demento for the final episode of my former radio show, Alternative to Sleeping with Ethan Allman. It was such a blast recording it. It was so much fun getting to listen to it again back on episode 171-inch. So I hope everyone enjoys the finale of my interview with Dr. Demento.
Okay, let's hear part 2 of Ethan's interview with Dr. Demento from August 2015.
Now, you still have the some of the earlier tapes, including the infamous Dr. D Superstar song
Oh, yes, yes.
Are those ever? Are some of the ones that haven't been aired ever going to be out there? Is there any kind of plans to release them?
Well, I don't know about Dr. D Superstar, but a good many otherwise unreleased Weird Al cuts, demos, and a few songs that were never put on regular records. Some of them came out on some CDs that we used to do for our fan club called Dr. Demento's Basement Tapes. And if you want to know about those, you can well, one way to kind of get introduced to the world of dementia is to go on Facebook and look for the official Dr. Demento Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody can contribute to that, and anybody can look at that, and I often answer questions on that page. And it's a way of keeping up with the show, and people can ask me about my old stuff. The old Dr. Demento basement tapes, we cannot really sell those commercially, but if you join the Demento Society, you can acquire some of those. That's kind of a little secret that we have.
Oh, that's great. I've always been so curious about Dr. D Superstar. Is there any reason in particular that it was not included on a basement tape, or is there anything about that song?
No. I guess maybe I didn't quite feel it was going to be a real theme song of mine. Al was not a star, remember, at that time. He was
Right.
just a guy who sent me tapes. And that was fun. I mean, maybe I'll bring it back.
I'd love to hear it.
Okay. I think he would agree that it was not the best thing he ever did. And so
Right.
Al is not very enthusiastic about my letting some of his real early stuff get out. Yeah, as you might understand. I mean, he's just starting
absolutely.
out.
Yeah.
His career was trial and error at first, like anybody's.
It's
I'm not saying
absolutely,
that was an error, but
it's definitely interesting to hear those. It's fun to hear, I understand where Al wouldn't want it to be out there, but I think the super fans are really interested in that kind of stuff. And I think
Yes, right.
I think it's really great that
Yeah.
you've released what you have. It's really cool to have those out there. Now
right.
you recorded Shaving Cream. You put that out a
Right.
few times, and you would perform it. Was there any other songs that you had recorded or performed?
no. Not really, no. Because I'm not really a singer, as you can tell from hearing that, but that's kind of within my limited range. And it also, because I could make up new verses for it all the time,
Right.
that was a logical thing for me to do, rather than just trying to sing something that somebody else had sung better. If I could do new verses to it, that added some interest to it. So I'd often make up, when I performed in Albany, I probably made up a verse that was related to something that was going on around there at that time.
Oh, that's
I can't
great.
remember it now, but yeah, but I do stuff like that.
When you would tour with Weird Al, would you just sing Shaving Cream, or what other kind of stuff would you do?
Oh, I play music from the show.
Oh, okay.
That's
So, like-
basically what I do. A half-hour miniature version of the Dr. Demento Show.
Oh, okay.
So I'd be introducing. I'd mostly play the hits from the show. I'd play condensed versions of Fish Heads and Dead Puppies, and there'll be a little Zappa, a little Spike Jones. Kind of the history of comedy music in a half-hour show.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, I did one show. It was in 1985 in Kingston, New York. That's not too far from you, I don't think.
No, not too far.
And as I found out a long time later, there in the audience, at age 11, there was his parents, was Jimmy Fallon.
Wow.
And that was the first concert he ever went to. Weird Al Yankovic with me doing my half-hour show. It was a beautiful old theater, so I remember it because of that, and also because a hurricane had blown through and the gig was almost canceled, but the hurricane kind of just brushed the edge of Kingston, so the show went on.
Wow.
So
That's amazing.
I remember it because of that, and then later, when Jimmy Fallon, there was a big long piece on him in Vanity Fair magazine when he took over at the Tonight Show, and there was a couple of paragraphs about how much he enjoyed the Dr. Demento Show when he was a kid.
Oh, that's so great. It must be an amazing feeling to have influenced all these really amazing comedians and comedy musicians.
Yes, it does make me swell with pride a little bit.
So yeah, it's amazing. I am a huge just comedy music fan. It's mostly what I listen to. I'm not really into classic rock or new stuff. And
okay,
it's really great to have people like you making that possible for people like me who are demented as well.
Well, you're most welcome, Ethan. Happy to do it. I mean, it's been a lot of fun for me too.
Yeah, it's an amazing career. I'm looking through some of the timeline stuff, and I had some questions. These are, I guess, kind of more specific questions, but I know you did. You've done a number of different iterations of the show. There was a Best of the Dr. Demento on XM Radio. There was the Daily Dose of Dementia.
Not too many folks remember that one.
There's so what were you part of those, or was that like a record company taking?
Oh
your
yeah,
old stuff
I was involved.
Okay.
I was involved. Which the radio, the Daily Dose of Dementia was something one of my radio syndicators thought up. He said, "Let's do a 5-minute feature for morning shows," and so I did. And
okay.
It ran for what, 2-3 years, something like that, and then it didn't run anymore. It's just the way things are.
Right.
And then the XM show that ran for a couple of years, and then we asked for a raise, and they said, "No, we got our own comedy guys."
Ugh. That's too bad.
Yeah. I had an odd problem with XM Radio.
Yeah.
I mean, they carried that show for a while, but they said they said to me, your stuff is too adult for our family channel and not dirty enough for our adult channel.
That's so weird.
So what could I say?
I
mean, if they'd offered me more money, I would have done a show for them tailored to the particular level of cleanness or dirtiness that they wanted, but they weren't willing to go that far. They were shooting their whole wad on Howard Stern, I guess.
Okay. Now that you're not restricted, since you are online, are you playing racier stuff?
Somewhat.
Yeah.
I mean, like when the S word comes up in the course of a normal song, I don't have to bleep it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, the F word. Well, my show now online, it's rated PG-13. So I go by basically the guidelines that would be used for a PG-13 movie. Like you can use the F word once or twice as long as it is not specifically descriptive of a sexual act. I mean, the F word, as you know, is used in many other contexts besides specifically describing sex.
Right.
But I learned something interesting. When I first started being online only, I thought, oh, the sky's the limit. I can play all this racy stuff. But then I realized that a lot of my audience is people who listen with their kids.
Right.
And so I struck that compromise of keeping it PG-13. And about once a month or once every 6 weeks, I do bonus tracks where I play stuff that maybe is a little more candid, more uncensored than that. Mm-hmm. But I run those at the end of the show and keep them separate for those who are listening with their kids.
That's great. I read that a prior company, when you were doing the FM show, that they wouldn't let you play "It's a Gas."
That's true, because no, it wasn't XM. It was Westwood One.
Okay.
The major syndicator that I worked with from 1978 to 80, 1978 to 92. Yeah, a long time. And the chief executive of that company did not like things that had to do with bodily secretions and gross noises. It was just his taste. I think he didn't want the show to seem like it was more juvenile. He wanted it to seem a little more adult.
Of course.
So, and he was paying the money, so It's a Gas went on a vacation for a while.
That's too bad. It's a Gas is great.
But they were very liberal and tolerant about all kinds of things, so I can't blame them.
Just not the burping.
Right. Yeah, he didn't like burping, and he didn't like things that featured little kids. He wasn't very fond of Dragnet Goes to Kindergarten because it's narrated by a child. It was written by Steve Allen, but it was narrated by a child, so they didn't like that much. But hey, that's the way it is. You're
Right.
working for somebody who's paying your salary. You do the job that they expect,
Right.
more or less.
So there was never any tension or anything because of what you couldn't play.
Not really. No.
That's good. In the
And
past,
of course, we went back and forth over. There was Frank Zappa's, and bleep this if you must, but it's Frank Zappa recorded this song called Titties and Beer. And on KMET in Los Angeles, it was the most popular Frank Zappa song that I played for a long time. But we went back and forth over the word titties. There were earnest discussions about, they had decided, no, we can't say tits on the radio, but maybe titties isn't quite as bad. And then they got some complaints about it, so I had to take the titties out again. And I put in this cuckoo clock noise, beep boop, instead of the word titties. So cut that whole part out if you want. I don't know how your management is at WCDB. Of course, if you're on late in the evening, it might not matter.
I mean, what are they going to do? It's my last show. They going to fire me?
Good point. Good point there, Ethan. Yes.
Now, has there been any, over the past 45 years, any extended period of time where you have not been doing the Dr. Demento show in some capacity? Or has it just been a nonstop?
No, it's been nonstop.
Could you ever see yourself not doing it?
Oh, if I can't stand up to the microphone and can't put a show together that's good and entertaining, then probably I wouldn't want to do it anymore. But as long as I'm physically and mentally able to do it, I'm fine with keeping it going.
That's
I
great.
really don't know the life of not doing a show every week. Of course, I've never had the life of doing a show every day, with the exception of a 3-month stint in San Francisco very early in my career.
Mm-hmm.
I worked for a station for 3 months playing regular music. It was freeform, but it was not funny. So I did do that at one very early point in my career, 1971, KMPX in San Francisco, which has gone to radio heaven.
Seems like a lot of radio stations are going to radio heaven lately.
Yeah. Usually the frequencies remain, but the management of the station and often the call letters will change.
Mm-hmm.
So
Now, in syndication and when you were doing your show, when it was syndicated, what was the time frame of recording the show to actually having it air? Was it a week, or were you doing a month in advance?
it varied from time to time. At Westwood One, it was as long as 3 weeks because they actually pressed the show up on LP records, and that's how it was sent to stations. So that took a little time. Right now, I wrap up the show on Friday, and it goes online the next morning.
Oh, cool. Do you prefer having it coming out faster like that?
Yes, yeah, right. It can be more topical, more timely.
Mm-hmm. Would you, in pre-recording, would you have to say stuff like referencing the date of when it was airing or anything like that? Would you have to be careful to not?
Yeah, I'd have to watch for that sometimes, though I'd usually try and not do as much stuff that's totally tied down to one day, for instance, or even one weekend, because not every station played it on the same day.
Right. Okay. There was recently there was a Kickstarter campaign for a documentary about your life. Has there been any?
Oh, yes.
Have there been any other documentaries, or is this the first?
That's the first.
The first one.
That is the first, yes. So, and it's still going on. I can't tell you when it's going to be released, but we've got 80 hours of footage.
Oh, wow.
So, and some great interviews. So we're certainly looking forward to it coming out. But we need to get a little more funding together. I say we because, of course, I'm very much involved in it, but it's not my company or anything like that.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, I'm hoping that that gets finished soon so everybody can see it because there's a lot of great stuff in it.
Yeah,
so
I'd love to see it.
Looking forward to that. Under the Smogberry Trees.
Where does that title come from? Under the Smogberry
Oh, that's
Trees?
what I used to say at the beginning of the show, and I've started saying it again now. It was just I heard somebody else saying, "Oh, here we are under the beautiful palm trees in sunny Los Angeles." So it was kind of a riff on that. I heard somebody else say something like that. It might have even been on TV, but anyway, so I came up with Under the Smogberry Trees because in the 70s, Los Angeles had a really severe smog problem. It's not as bad now, but it used to be your eyes would burn when you'd go outside.
Oh, man.
But it's much better now.
No,
It's much better now because we're burning all that unleaded fuel.
Right. And soon maybe electric, which will be even less.
Yes, right. Though, of course, the electricity has got to come from somewhere. They sometimes make that with coal, and that's just as dirty.
Now, I'm interested to hear about your collection of music and records. You have like some extremely rare things that I saw that different record labels and musicians have like come to you to make copies of.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
How big is the collection?
Yeah, lots of old blues and country and Robert Johnson and Charlie Patton and people like that. And but of course, what is certainly most notable about my collection is all the funny stuff.
Right.
And those records are not necessarily worth eye-popping sums of money, but it's great to have a resource like that. And I mean, I've got some of Weird Al's first tapes, and there's only one of those.
Right.
Unless he kept copies, and I'm not sure he did.
Right. What is the size of your collection? Over 200,000, right?
It's hundreds of thousands. I don't have an exact figure for you, Ethan.
That's amazing. Is it?
But
Do you have it?
It's lots.
Do you have it categorized or?
Yeah, I'm standing in the midst of them right now. I mean, there's a building on our property which began life as a garage, and it's been added onto, and it's become my studio and my record room. And then some of the records are on off-premises storage too.
Okay. It's incredible.
There's only so much room. Yeah, they take up lots of room, and they weigh a lot. Even CDs, you get enough of them, they weigh a whole lot.
Yeah. Are you still adding to your collection?
Mostly just the stuff that comes in for the show these days. Mm-hmm. Though I still enjoy a little bit of contemporary music here and there, but in most cases I'll just be adding those digitally.
Mm-hmm. Is there any particular artist that you collect?
Of course, the comedy giants from Spike Jones to George Carlin, and I certainly try to be complete on people like that, to have everything that they did in some form or another.
When you're recording your show, are you still playing some stuff from vinyl, or is it all digital at this point?
Well, it all goes to digital at some point, because it's a little too cumbersome to actually play a 78 on the show and have it queued up perfectly and all that. So I will transfer those to CD. I have specialized equipment. It takes a lot of different styli to make sure that all the different 78s play well. And if I do them on digital, I can get rid of some of the pops and ticks and noise and things like that. Make sure they're at the right speed and all that stuff. So there is certainly an advantage to having it all digital. I haven't really put it all in the cloud or anything like that. I'm still a little bit old school in that most of what I play is in the CD format, either commercial CDs or ones that I've burned myself on the same machine that I'm recording this interview on. It's a Tascam CD-RW 900 Mark II Professional CD recorder.
I mean, there's something just... for me personally, something to having a physical thing that it's recorded on rather than just, digital magnets.
I definitely agree with you there, Ethan. I'm not necessarily one of those who is convinced that vinyl sounds better than any other format, but there is certainly something wonderful about having a good piece of music or comedy on the original vinyl or on a well-done reissue, something like that. You know,
Right.
being able to see the artwork in full size and to hold something in your hand that actually you can see the undulations in the grooves and the different patterns of light that reflect off the grooves. Like if you are into staring at vinyl records as they play, you can often kind of get an idea, even without listening, what sort of rhythm the music had. Like anything done with a drum machine makes very regular patterns that you can see in the light reflected off the grooves. And that's true of any kind of disc record, even 78s. Of course, they didn't have drum machines back then, but if you had a drummer who was very metronomic and kept real good time, you can see the very regular pattern in the light reflected off the grooves.
Wow.
You can also tell when the music speeds up or slows down, which happened a lot on older records before they had drum machines. So
I've never looked too closely. That's a really cool thing. I'll have to check that out.
Well, people who are fascinated with records or any other kind of media can get pretty obsessive about things like that, even more than I am.
Yeah, I have a collection of records, but I don't think I've ever played any of them. I think I need to get a record player so I can check them out.
Yeah, you need to get a record player.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get a pretty decent turntable for a couple $100.
Right.
Don't buy a Crosley; they're a junk.
Crosley, okay. I'll stay away from it.
But any decent, actually, you can find real good turntables at stores catering to DJs.
Okay.
They're kind of fading away since a lot of DJs have gone to using hard drives, but most big music stores that have a DJ department will still have some decent turntables, even ones that play 78s.
Looking at that. Cool.
Of course, for 78s, you've got to get separate styli if you want them to sound decent, but that's another story that we probably don't need to get into. But there again, you can find all you want to know about that online.
Right. What is the ultimate novelty song? Is it Fish Heads?
Well, the most popular one on my show would be Fish Heads, beating out dead puppies by a nose. Mm-hmm. Now, They're Coming to Take Me Away, Ha Ha, is also right up there. Weird Al is the most popular artist, there's no doubt about that.
Right. Is there an ultimate one to you that you just, when you think of your show, what one song comes to mind?
I can't go beyond what the audience has acclaimed. At any given time, I'll probably like something new. If there's something new that comes out and it's real good, then that'll be my favorite song for a while.
It's a good answer.
Yes.
I just, this has been amazing. I want to ask you about you've had so many cameos and really cool things. You've been on The Simpsons and all those different Weird Al videos, UHF. What was your experience like doing the cameos?
Well, it was different. The Simpsons was a lot of fun. When they do a show like that, the very first thing they do after they've written the script, they do the voices. Mm-hmm. The animation comes later. So
okay.
There were all the cast members in street clothes sitting in chairs in a semicircle, each one with a mic and each one with a music stand holding their script. Mm-hmm. So they go through the script from beginning to end, doing very frequent retakes. They'll do each line maybe 3 or 4 times till everybody's happy with it. Then they'll go on to the next line. And my part in The Simpsons, it was at the very beginning of the show, so we did that first. And then I was able to sit there and watch them do the rest of it, which took a couple hours maybe. And then we all shook hands and autographed stuff for each other and said goodbye, and that was it. And it was lots of fun.
That's awesome.
The Weird Al videos, of course, they were all different, but generally each one took at least a day.
Okay.
So I'd put on my suit or whatever I was wearing, and I'd do my part, and then I'd hang around while they did the other parts, and but they were all different, of course. And I guess I Lost on Jeopardy is the one where I have the most FaceTime on screen.
Yeah. I always loved almost the same way that in the new superhero movies, you're always looking for Stan Lee. When you're watching a Weird Al video, you want to be looking for Dr. Demento.
Right. And then, of course, in UHF, I have a small part. My part in that was going to be a little bit longer, but they had to do a lot of cutting in that movie because nobody wanted a 2.5-hour light comedy for young people, so they had to cut a lot of stuff. So it wound up being just a very brief cameo, but I had a little bit longer part originally.
What was it supposed to be originally?
Oh, it involved me with shaving cream, and I had a couple of some sort of an interaction with Michael Richards as the janitor. We had a little back and forth dialogue.
Oh, that's great.
I can't remember all of it now. Anyway, it was, but there were a lot of good things that wound up on the cutting room floor. It wound up being a real good movie. So
yes,
and. I got a free trip to Tulsa for that. Most of the interiors were done in Tulsa, and what they did was there was a department store that had shut down. They were in a recession in all through the oil country that year.
Okay.
So they found this whole department store in this mall that had been closed, and so it was just this big empty space that they could get relatively cheaply and put all their sets and things up and do their movie and with relatively little time pressure. So that was a good thing for them. And maybe the nicest thing, it was in the middle of the summer and it was 105 degrees and 95% humidity. So the nicest thing was the abandoned department store was at one end of this mall and our hotel was at the other end, so we did not have to go outside when we went back to the hotel. So that was UHF in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Some of the interiors were done in LA, but most of it in Tulsa. And that was fun being there and watching the other scenes that were done and watching them get together and have their conference, watching the dailies after each day's shooting, which anybody who's ever made a movie will tell you about that.
Right. Yeah. It's been an amazing career, Dr. Demento.
Oh yes, and Ethan, I'm honored to be on what is unfortunately your last show, but may you go on to greater heights in the future, wherever the future takes you. May you always be around joy and laughter and fun. Comedy Pipe Radio, and don't forget to stay demented.
Thank you once again to Dr. Demento for joining us all the way from August 2015. And thank you, Ethan, for sharing this amazing interview from your archives.
Be sure to head over to drdemento.com to subscribe to his weekly show and check out all the great stuff his website has to offer, including that awesome merchandise.
Okay, well, I think we have this one and then one more Dazzle ad, and then we are done and can finally go back to sharing the magical information about the amazing, amazing town of Darwin.
This episode is brought to you in part by Discover Dazzle, promoting tourism in Dazzle, Minnesota. Not only is historic Dazzle, Minnesota a town, it also has its own world-renowned thing to look at.
Hey, you know how Darwin, Minnesota has not only the biggest ball of twine built by one man, it also has dozens upon dozens of world-class businesses and establishments of which you and your family could spend months visiting and enjoying?
Well, obviously, but aren't we supposed to talk about Dazzle?
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Okay, well, make it quick.
So you may be thinking, wow, Darwin has everything and more. But you know what Darwin does not have? A mushroom building.
A mushroom building?
Yep.
Like a tiny building the size of a mushroom?
Nope.
I mean, like the size of the houses that Smurfs live in?
Still nope.
Like, is it a building made out of mushrooms?
Nope.
Is it a mushroom that is building something?
Nope.
Is it a building with a bunch of rooms filled with mush?
Nope.
Is it just a building that looks kind of like a mushroom?
Ding, ding, ding. That's right. Dassel, Minnesota is home to a building that looks kind of like a mushroom.
I mean, so what? Isn't there a building down the street from you in New Jersey that kind of looks like a mushroom?
So visit Dassel, Minnesota on your next expedition, if you really must. And after you visit Dassel, Minnesota, we're obligated to mention that discoverdassel.biz is also a website, I guess. I don't know. Never went there. Don't care to.
Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast is brought to you absolutely free thanks to our incredible sponsors, Burrito, Jackson Scoggins, Jack Bateman, and Mark Heidenreich. And it's also brought to you by the less than incredible Discover Dassel.
Our podcast is also supported by everyone else in our Patreon family, with special thanks to our amazing close personal friend level Patreon supporters. Javier, UH Jeff, Kenneth, Matthew, Mike, Nancy, NES Josh 64, Rim Jams Jared and Rocky, Scott, Zeb, Adriana, Ajax, Allison, Blair, Gus and Alicia, and Jake. And also thank you to Dave and everyone else in our pretty stinking majestic Patreon family.
If you enjoy our freakishly, fantastically, family-friendly, wonderful, wild, wacky, weird Weird Al podcast, please consider supporting us at patreon.com/2000inch. There are awesome benefits like getting your name on the podcast, your own private RSS feed, and access to secret episodes. And now would be a great time to join if you haven't already, because you will be the very first to hear The Unfortunate Return of the Ridiculously Self-Indulgent, Ill-Advised Vanity Tour Concert Review bonus episodes.
And don't forget to check out our official merchandise shop over at shop.2000inch.com. We know what you're thinking. It's the middle of September. So what better time to start your Christmas shopping? Fill everyone's stockings with Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast related tchotchkes.
We love hearing from our listeners and other Weird Al fans, so be sure to join our Facebook community at group.2000inch.com and visit our Discord server for even more riveting Weird Al and Red Rum to Goody related conversations. You can find both of them linked on our website, as well as information about past episodes and guests over at weirdalpodcast.com or 2000inch.com.
And while you are there, click on Ridiculously Self-Indulgent bonus episodes to follow along with our adventures on tour, or Black and White and Weird All Over bonus episodes for our special series where author John Bermuda Schwartz walks us through his first book, page by page and picture by picture.
Keep up on new episodes, podcast news, and events by following at 2000inch on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And thank you for subscribing and leaving reviews on your favorite podcast app. Make sure you're subscribed, because it not only helps the podcast, it helps those little microscopic mites that live in your eyebrows suffer unfortunate yet amusing early demises. Plus, we also love it when we receive voicemail via our official patent-pending 27-hour-a-day podcast hotline, 347-SPATULA. You might even hear your message in a future episode.
Thank you once again to this episode's guest, Dr. Demento, joining us all the way from 2015. We also want to thank Alternative to Sleeping with Ethan Allman, WCDB 90.9 FM in Albany, New York, Comedy Pipe Radio, Ethan Allman, Carrie Ann Hudson at Carrie Hudson on Instagram, Joe Jaffa, Jackson Scoggins, Cat O'Carroll, UH Jeff Nucera, Justin Waldman, Izzy, Blair Freeman, Scott Sorensen, Matthew Chajnacki at 1984 Publishing, Polyester, Chad Kelson, a.k.a. Metal Al, Heather, a.k.a. Spunky Siren, at Lego_Customs_2005 on Instagram, Will King, Kim Dower, and John Bermuda Schwartz. Thank you to the Grammy Award-winning Jim Kimo West for our incredible podcast theme song, and thank you to Weird Al Yankovic, as this podcast probably would not exist without him. And big thanks to all of you, our loyal listeners, subscribers, Patreon supporters and sponsors, and everyone else who makes our podcast possible.
Thank you all for choosing Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast. And until next time, remember to gill and chill.
Ethan, I had a lot of fun watching that video that you recorded at Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo, but please tell me you didn't actually go to the bathroom in there, did you?
Well, I mean, it was actually quite a long drive, Dave. Of course I did.
No! How could you desecrate such a holy location from Weird Al's career?
I mean, Dave, it is a bathroom. Other people used it while I was there, too.
They what?
That was Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, episode 172-inch.
We're using Ethan's old material when we're too busy.
Your stuff is too adult for our family channel and not dirty enough for our adult channel.